So why don't they just call this movie Scream 5? Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Anthony, here to give you guys another movie review, and this time it is for the latest Scream film, Scream. 25 years after the original series of murders in Woodsboro, a new Ghostface emerges, and Sidney Prescott, along with others, must return to uncover the truth. So I just came back from watching Scream, and I got a lot of things to say. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in this film. If you're a Scream fan, I mean, there's stuff in here that you're going to just eat up. And I for sure was eating up a lot of the stuff that they had in this film. There's so much good in this film, but there is also a lot of stuff that we need to talk about that didn't work so well. First off, let me give you some history with my Screamdom, my Scream fandom. I've seen all the films. I love the first three. I know people hate the third film. They argue that's the weakest one, and I agree with them. That is the weakest one. But there's stuff in that one, especially rewatching it recently. I was like, I like it. I like it. It's cheesy, it's bad, you know, but there's elements in it I like. And I've recently grew to love the fourth film. And initially I didn't really like it, but now rewatching it over these past couple of days in anticipation for the new film, I've grown to appreciate Scream 4 a lot more. So I know about Scream, you know, I know how they talk about the fourth wall kind of ish, the meta-ness of the horror community, and make fun of the horror community, make fun of itself, while also being a funny, not so serious slasher film. I love that about the Scream franchise. And then we have Scream 5, or Scream as they call it, and they even make fun of that in this film. They're like, why don't you just call it Scream 5? Just doesn't make any sense. But I think the titling is more of a studio decision rather than that being a decision of the writers. I think that's why they put a little dig in that in the movie. But let's talk about Scream, because I know I already set it up that I didn't really like it as much as everybody else. As of this recording, the audience rating for this film is at 90 plus, and the critics rating is at 70 plus. So suffice to say that people love this film, they enjoy it. So I don't want to be one of those people, you know, that just trashes on the film, because we'll get to that later. So let's first off talk about what I really enjoyed about this film, because there's a lot of good stuff in this film. Ghostface is back, and this is probably the most terrifying and most brutal iteration of the character that we've had to date throughout all the films. I mean, he's really going for it in this film. He's like slashing people up, and we get to see it up close and personal. I feel like over the films that we've seen before, we've seen, you know, some deaths, some brutal deaths, but this is like really brutal. Like we linger on some kills for a long time here. And I don't know if it was because I was in a Dolby theater, but I felt a lot of the kills in this one more so than I did in the past. And I mentioned this before, but Scream is pretty much synonymous with talking about the horror community and its meta commentary on just social commentary or horror commentary. And in this film, it's no different. They're really diving deep into it in the modern horror culture. And it hit kind of home with me because, you know, someone who is part of the film community and is on film Twitter a lot, you interact with a lot of horror movie fans, and some of the commentary that they had in this film, it struck a chord with me because I've had conversations with horror fans, you know, horror movie fans, and they say a lot of the stuff that these characters are saying in this movie. I just had to chuckle a little bit. I just had to chuckle. You know, I like horror too, but you know, I'm not that serious. I'm not a snob, you know. And I've always loved that the Scream films can make fun of themselves and make fun of the horror community. Because, you know, we're not all here liking the Babadook and just Hereditary and, you know, Midsummer and all that stuff. We're not just like high horror. I forgot what exactly they called it in this one. Some of us just like cheesy slasher films, and that's okay. You liking anything is fine. And I think that's what this film was trying to just get at. We get to hear some of the original score, especially Dewey's score. That was great when you see him coming back along with Gail and Sydney and everybody else. And the OG characters, they did a great job. I love when films can introduce old characters while trying to reboot the series at the same time. And for the most part, when they introduce these characters in these films, it feels like it kind of comes off as like they're just throwing them in there just for nostalgia for the older fans. But in this film, I think they integrated those characters really well. It didn't feel forced at all. And that is where my praise ends. And this is where the criticism of the film starts. Because, guys, I can't help it. I tried to wrap my head around it, but I can't. I can't help it. there's a lot of bad stuff in this film. One thing I did find interesting is that our main character, our Sidney replacement, as you will, she starts going through similar issues that Sidney Prescott went through in Scream 3, seeing like flashbacks and stuff of somebody from her past. And I know that's one of the elements that people really, you know, bring up that they didn't like about Scream 3. But in this film, they pretty much do the same thing, and people love it. So I don't know, maybe you guys could help me figure out why that is. Maybe it was better executed in this film than that film. I don't know. To me, it seems similar. I just found it strange. There's also a big reveal from one of the characters in this film that I feel like should have been revealed at the end. It would have been more impactful to me, at least for me personally. But they reveal it early on in the film, and it kind of becomes like a plot point. And because of that reveal, you're kind of like, oh, maybe they're the killer. Maybe that's why they're here. It didn't really work for me. Like I said, I felt like it would have been more powerful if they did it at the end. But then we get to my biggest problem with this film. Like all the criticism that I gave before is, you know, nitpicky stuff at best, right? You know, I can go with those stuff if this big issue that I'm about to talk about wasn't an issue. And that is the new characters that we're introducing into the films. They're not good. they're not good at all. And this requel, as I'm going to take some verbiage from the film, as this requel isn't the first one to take characters or introduce new characters and make them carbon copies of old characters that we've had. But I don't know. I just feel like the older characters, the OG characters, the OG Sidney Prescott, the OG Gale Weathers, the OG Dewey, they had more personality and more charisma and more like, you know, presence on the screen than we do with these new characters. I mean, the Sidney Prescott replacement, if you will, Sam in this film, I don't get it. I'm not feeling it from her. Maybe towards the end of the film, I'm kind of like sold on her character, but in the beginning, I'm just like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling this. And that goes for the rest of the characters as well. There is a character in here who is basically the Randy of the film, and I could not stand her character at all. She didn't have any of the charm that Randy did in the first film. And it's weird because I know a lot of people who I trust and I like and I appreciate on film Twitter, on YouTube, who really, really dug the new characters and they love the new Scream, and that's cool. That's cool. For me, it just didn't really flow. But overall, guys, yeah, Scream 5 is a mixed bag for me. I don't hate this film at all. I think if I'm going to rank it, I would have to, you know, make a video of ranking all 5 of the Scream films, which I'm going to be doing pretty soon. But there is elements of this film that I really loved. I loved Ghostface in this film. Like I said, I think he's the most scary iteration that we've had since the beginning of the Scream franchise. I love the score. I love the kills. When you see Ghostface interacting with these characters, it's probably the best stuff in this entire film. But the rest of the film is just filler, it feels for me. There's people talking about certain events that don't really matter to me. I don't care about it. It doesn't really make me connect with those characters, and that's what I want from this franchise. I want to connect with the Sidney Prescotts and the Gale Weathers. Even though I don't necessarily agree with either or of them, I still have a connection with them. I still want to be invested in their story. These characters, not so much. So guys, if you like Scream 5 and you want to see some movies similar to that, then watch the entire Scream franchise. Yeah, you know, watch 1, watch 2, watch even 3, you know, okay, 4. Watch the whole thing. But guys, don't forget to check out my Twitter so you can stay up to date with my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, guys, keep watching movies.